some social media, but it's all hidden. But she's not allowed to post anything. So she'll make YouTube videos in her phone. You don't really have to go back and watch. She's like, "Hi guys, today I'm going to do blah blah blah." And then at the end she'll be like, "Alright, hit the notification bell. Make sure you guys subscribe. It's for free." And the video is great. You missed our show tonight. Yeah, I didn't do a stream of it because you weren't here. It felt sinful to do so without you. I know, your family. Did you really, were you serious? Do you really want me to pick you up on the way to, me heading to Chicago? I don't know, I didn't watch it myself, to be honest with you.
Hey, well, thank you for having me. I'm going to drop here in Sugar. It was a pleasure hanging out with you again, and then my MMA fighter friend is going to protect me at all times. Nice meeting you. If I see you around, I follow you, Sugar. If you ever need someone to come in and debate the life is a choice, whatever abolition is a choice position, I'm happy to do that. Anyone's giving you guys a hard time, I'm happy to do that. So.
You're always welcome. I appreciate you coming up.
Thank you. I'll write you letters. Send them via pigeon. Carry a pigeon.
Thanks. Appreciate it. I'll be looking forward to those.
Say more.
Build in this hypothetical has an ownership claim to your house. Why not?
Hold on. This is your free.
Your institution is
trying consistency.
It costs you. Answer the question. You made the claim. You made the claim. Well, it's made up to her body.
Domination. Secure and hold the objective.
Took a shot.
We control Alpha.
Deploying mine. Shot incoming.
Lost Bravo. Securing objective Charlie. We're losing Alpha. Taking Bravo.
Swapping max. Stun grenade. Requesting recon flyover. Orbiting the
We're losing Charlie. Bravo. Enemy taking Alpha.
I'm not the enemy here. Thermite out. We done. Aim for the enemy. Deploying mine. Sending thermite. Charging me. Took a shot. Got
Why? The child.
Securing objective Bravo.
deploying mine. Deploying mine.
Taking Bravo. Securing objective Charlie.
Dust it out.
Enemies taking Alpha. We're taking Bravo.
makes sense. In a framework that doesn't make any fucking sense.
Securing objective Bravo. Securing objective Bravo. Securing objective Charlie. We're losing Alpha.
There's a principle here that you
Bravo. Enemy taking Bravo. Objective Bravo is compromised. Taking Bravo.
it could be a claim in this.
Securing objective
Insofar as
ready to deploy. The enemy holds 2 objectives. Bravo. Securing objective Bravo. Friendly UAV online. Taking Bravo. Securing objective Bravo. We're taking Charlie. We're taking Bravo. Hostile Mw3 is online. Securing objective Bravo. We're taking Bravo.
Throwing a stun grenade.
Hostile advancing overhead.
Stun grenade out.
Friendly UAV online. Securing objective Bravo. We're taking Bravo.
It's just based on
I'm hit. Pass out.
Friendly SAE on the bed. Securing objective Bravo. Securing objective Charlie.
Swapping mags.
Charlie secured. Friendly cruise missile deployed. Securing objective Bravo. Charlie. We're taking Bravo. Charlie.
Take out.
Securing objective Bravo.
Blast out.
We're taking Charlie.
I'm not the enemy here.
The enemy captured 2 objectives. Get them secure.
These agents, you left this out in your this one room is too big. But to me, an agent was first gestate for 9 months.
That's just like really literally
No, it's descriptively true, just like your first war policies.
but it's not relevant here.
Securing
The point
objective
is
Bravo.
It would be irrational.
We're taking Bravo. Securing objective Bravo.
I control.
The enemy holds two objectives.
Blast out!
Secure your position. Securing objective Bravo.
Because it's my
Enemy fighter here!
Mission failed. Repent.
So, so if you're saying like this is a prison and you own this prison and you're deciding to just like shut the water off.
So let's say no, I own the land that has where the pipe comes from the water treatment facility, where it's filtered all the water, passes through my land and goes into the city and gets watered all the city. Well, I go in and shut it down. I don't want you passing that water through my land. I'm just actualizing my property rights.
Well, so it sounds like
The whole city.
sorry, did you agree? Wait, a couple questions here. Did you purchase the land? Did you come to acquire this land legitimately prior to them like building these pipes?
Sure.
Oh, well then it sounds like they didn't have a right to put the pipes like through your property.
Well, it wasn't it was my great-granddaddy did, and he left me this land as will. And, yeah, you guys, I didn't even know it was there. My family didn't realize because you did a tunneling system underneath. And you just went right under. I didn't even notice. But then I was digging, so I was trying to find oil. Turned out all I found was this damn pipe.
Well, if you're saying
It's
that,
feeds this city for 10 million people.
well, if you're saying that like when the property came into the possession of like your great grandfather, like he consented for the like the pipe to go through the property. Sounds like this was just like this was all agreed upon like initially, and then like when you will build this property, it sounds like this is just because the agreement already occurred. It sounds like
They tunneled underneath, you know, the permits and you go certain depth. You just tunnel. Anyway, well,
if you seems saying it's not your property anymore.
say it.
You're saying if it goes below a certain depth, it's not your property.
No, that's what I'm saying.
What I'm saying is that it
Once you go below a certain depth, you don't have to call 311.
you would still need permission from the property owner if like you're gonna put pipes or something like that.
Gotcha. But this is what I'm saying is that they would the tunnel. It's not like they go and ask everybody use system. They just know they get to a certain depth and they go straight through.
Oh,
Here's
well,
what I'm saying.
they should be required, and they shouldn't be. So if the property owner says no, well, then I would say that they don't have a legitimate claim to your property if they bypassed like like coming to some sort of
That's
agreement.
not the question. That's not
Well,
the question.
no, it
The question is,
answers
does the
your
property
question.
owner have a right to go and shut the water down?
It depends. I told you it depends on whether or not like this pipe, like this water company has a legitimate claim to use the property, which is contingent upon like whatever was stipulated at the time, like the purchase of the property when the pipes were installed. So if they install these pipes.
Sorry, people, hopefully it's so complicated.
So like again, if they install these pipes without the property owner's permission, okay, so they're using someone's property illegitimately, you have a right to put a stop to this. But if the pipes were placed there like legitimately because there was a contract or an agreement or something like that, then no, it wouldn't be permissible for you to do.
All right, people, I think what the contention is, is that you are saying that
What again?
you're
Can I say that? I have a question, people. If a woman intentionally gets pregnant, I mean, obviously, like, you can't force it, whatever, you can't consent, but she's trying to get pregnant. And then she does. Do you think she should still be allowed to get an abortion? Okay, so if this property owner initially said, yeah, whatever, put those pipes on my property, I don't care, then you would say that he should still be allowed to shut the water off regardless, right?
Sorry, say that last part.
Yeah. And then you would say that he should still be able to shut the water off regardless, even if he initially said it was okay.
No, because this is not analogous because when it comes to pregnancy, like even if you very much were trying to conceive a child, it's allowed as sex does not deprive anybody of their independence. But if you say to the thing that is my water company, use my property to tunnel underneath and install these pipes, you're entering into an agreement. You know, you are kind of accepting and understanding that your actions are placing somebody in a state of dependency.
That's why I didn't say initially that she just had sex. I said she was trying to get pregnant.
But that doesn't matter.
And she did. And she initially wanted to get pregnant.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter because there was no prior state, because there's no prior state. So it doesn't matter what her goal was. The causal act of sex doesn't deprive anybody of anything, whereas the contract between the waterman, like the water people, and the property owner would deprive somebody of something.
Well, I'm not comparing, or I'm not talking about the act of sex. I'm talking about her actually getting pregnant.
Well, her getting
pregnant. Now she's pregnant, and she might have even been taking action to care for this child for some amount of time, and then changed her mind.
Yeah, but the other reason why this isn't analogous is because, like, the fetus is not a moral agent, and can't engage in any sort of, like, contract or moral commitments or anything like that, whereas, like,
Plant a charge on the target and level it.
Are moral agents engaging in a moral commitment with the property.
Okay, so if it was somebody who was not a moral agent and they, like, dug a creek on my property and I didn't care at the time, I didn't stop them. I didn't enter any contract necessarily, and I didn't stop him from doing it. You're saying that I should be able to shut the water off even if it means that the town dies?
Well, so wait a second. So if you allow somebody to dig a creek on your property, yeah, it probably depends on, you have to give more details. Like, who's the person digging the creek? Just like
I don't know, it's just some random person.
And you allowed this to happen?
Yeah.
And your question is, should you be able to, like, put a stop to it?
Well, I'm saying after the creek is dug or after the pipes are laid, whatever, and the city is,
get ready for the next one.
Somebody is relying on this water flow for life. Should I be able to shut the water off knowing that they're going to die and basically reclaim my property rights?
Well, it doesn't sound like you entered into any sort of contract, so it sounds like some kid was just digging a creek and, like, you allowed them to use your property in this way, but it doesn't sound like, you entered into any sort of commitment. There's no contract or anything like that in place. I don't see why you would be obligated to, like, kill the creek.
Sure, but this would be a scenario where you're saying that it would be reasonable for me to shut it down.
You're not contract in this hypothetical, but you would be in the case that there was, like, a contract in place and then you just decided to, like, shut the pipes down. So
I just wanted to, like, clarify that I think you guys were kind of talking past each other on that specific scenario or analogy. I think another thing that we could maybe consider is this person that's, like, in the basement of the house. I think Mr. Man's position,
on to the next.
maybe he wasn't clarifying, like, if it necessitates the person to remove them from your house. Like, should you be able to do that? Ask his position if he thinks they should be allowed to remove them if the person, like, dies.
what he said was that the reason why the child in the
Search and destroy.
legitimate claim to the property of its mother is because the child is native to
the
that property.
objective. Defend them.
No,
That is what he said.
I said that with regard to your framework. I was just trying to show you how in your framework the claim could be made. That the child that's what we claim basically intimidates the position of the child.
Build a house in somebody else's house. Like, no, I can't.
That's right. Listen, but that is where the whole property thing falls apart, because the human body is not property, it is one's person. Hold on, let me explain what the distinction is and why this is confusing. Is because
Won that round. Get ready for the next one.
Flows in down and sink and it begins to that's true. Into expand.
Search and destroy.
Just to be clear, that, like,
Don't let the enemy level the objective. Keep them secure.
Yeah, the child's body is not her property. The amniotic sac and the placenta and all these things are fetal organs that accompany the child. Those things belong to the child. In the same way that if I own a car and I put my car in the garage, it just means
Enemy lethal.
just means that you have the right to remove it, and that would include all these like accessories.
Enemy marked.
Well, the analogy would follow.
My child is in the car.
So if my child in my car, so I've neglected my child, and I drive my car into your garage and I leave my kid in there, yeah, you still have the right to remove my car from your garage. And if there just so happens to be
Despite killing the child.
I'm going to answer you. If it just so happens to be the case that there is some insane hailstorm that's, you push my car out of your garage, the hail is destroying the car, and it ends up harming or unaliving the child inside of it, I, as the parent, would be held culpable because I'm the one who had a duty of care over that child and I neglected them. You at no point had any sort of obligation to provide resources to that child. Period.
Listen,
you can't homestead, but listen, this is a pivot because what I'm saying is
They've planted at Bravo.
You can't like homestead property that belongs to somebody else. You can't say I'm native to this property.
You lost that round. Prepare for the next one.
And how did the mother lose the right to her egg?
Well, I don't think it's her egg. I think
how can somebody else homestead property that's already owned?
Well, I don't think it's the same property anymore. I think we could say that like an egg and a sperm cell that when they fuse, they create something new. But you could say that by engaging in sex at all, you offset to the possibility that one of your eggs could become this other thing.
Secured the device.
It's not really an issue because at no point do I think like the child is her property or anything like that. But you're kind of agreeing to that when you
she had the property and essentially homesteaded that property that she
kind of not really because like I think so there's a person here and the person would be the one who's doing the homesteading, but I just think that when the sperm cell meets the egg,
that's already
I don't think it's owned. Once it becomes something else, I don't think it's her property anymore. I think
so. If
it
you
changes,
leave,
its ontology changes.
Okay, so if you leave tires in my garage and Mr. Man leaves an engine in my garage, and I put them together and build this car, now neither of you own that car. You don't own your property anymore. It's mine.
Well, it would be fine to say if I gave permission. Which is what's happening on the next consensus act. What she's saying is she's saying she's all sending basically what this is like, I know that if I engage that like sperm cell could be deposited inside of my body.
Search and destroy.
I hear you with this, but in
Detonate the
terms of
target
pregnancy,
objective,
you
but
mentioned the
expect
word
an enemy
consent.
squad.
And now in the terms of the tires, you use the
You've got the bomb.
consent.
Well, it's gonna be like analogous because of the logical nature of pregnancy. The only thing that really matters here is that like the thing in question, so it changes its entire ensemble. I'm not saying necessarily that tires
Friendly mosquito
they
deployed.
just become like part of something else, but I wouldn't say that this blast
Enemy movement
in
in the
Device on Alpha.
part of
Stand
it is an
by.
egg. I would say.
I mean, I could like change it into
Bomb
spiders.
planted.
Take
Set
your
containment.
your tires and parts and like melt them down and create something completely
Not
different.
picking up any more enemy movement. Damn good job. The mission is complete. Good work.
Because nobody owns the child.
Well, I mean, sure, you could say the child owns themselves. So it's like, yeah, so you lost the claim to your property just because somebody else turned it into something, a different thing.
Well, no, I surrendered it.
How did you surrender it?
By agreeing to engage in this act, knowing.
So then consent to sex is consent to pregnancy?
No, consent to sex is assent to pregnancy.
Okay. If I drive into like a bad neighborhood, I'm assenting, I'm agreeing that's possible I might get robbed. It doesn't mean that I'm consenting to getting robbed.
I agree.
The person who takes my property now has a legitimate claim to that property.
Well, wait, that's gonna so that presupposes like a crime occurring. So I wouldn't say it's reasonable for you to I wouldn't say that you should ever have to like endure some crime just because you knew that there was a possibility it could happen that would still make the crime itself inexcusable. Like,
why is that a crime? But when you left it in my garage, it's not a crime that I took it and created something new out of it.
Because I surrendered the use of my property.
I didn't surrender it. I just left it there temporarily.
I know I surrendered it knowing that if this firm's lower than that it would necessarily become something else.
Again, you didn't surrender it. You just left it there temporarily. You didn't agree. You didn't consent. You might have acknowledged that it's possible that this could happen, that somebody might come along and take the rubber from your tires and create a whole new thing.
Yeah, but I'm saying
there's knowledge that could happen, but you didn't agree.
Yeah, but that's like you're driving a shitty car, but you're not saying it's okay. But you're like, but when you're being sensitive,
it's okay in this scenario. Just like
Search and destroy.
Sex.
141, plant a charge on the target and level it. You've secured the device.
She is.
What? She was consenting to pregnancy?
No, she's assenting to pregnancy. So,
these words interchangeable.
So, let's clarify. When I say assent, I'm referencing like a private acknowledgement and acceptance of something like consequence associated with an action that I've taken.
Tacticals marked.
Sure, what's the difference between that definition and consent?
Consent is a moral commitment between two or more moral agents.
So, me acknowledging that there's a possibility of something happening, that's not assent. I have to agree to it happening.
No, that would be assent. It's like,
Enemy moving to my home.
No, I acknowledge that it could happen. I'm not agreeing to it happening. There's a possibility it could happen.
Well, there's another part to that. So take the risk. So it's like choosing to
1 minute remaining.
So, like, if acknowledge that there's a risk that some other agents might come and do crimes.
Enemy movement in the AO.
Find the crimes to be permissible. You're just acknowledging that there is a risk, and you're deciding to.
We're planting a Bravo.
And by doing that, you're saying that I'm agreeing to it happening.
Device in place. Countdown started.
That it might happen.
What you are saying is acknowledging that it might happen and agreeing to it happening. That's what you're saying assent is.
I think there's an acceptance of the fact that it might happen. That's what it means to like take a risk.
Participating in.
It's just like worth it to you, even if you don't want this to happen and you don't like it. You're prioritizing. There's some other consideration you're making. It's like you decide that you're going to do the action. Even if it means that
this thing happens to lose.
Target detonation confirmed. Sending in a team to recover. You've won that round. Get ready for the next one.
Pregnancy, I lose the claim to that property. But if it's driving down the street and somebody robbing me,
Search and destroy.
claim to that property, why?
well, one would be like justified and one
Move in and detonate the target. Hostile UAV in the area.
Control it. One is a volitional act from a moral agent doing something. But so in
Why
terms
does
of
that mean that
abilities,
why does that mean that one's okay and one's not? Or one's just
because to say that like something like a non-moral agent or a biological process can do things that are okay or not okay.
No, that's not what I said. What I said was, you're telling me that one's justified and one's not justified.
Well, one is like, certainly not justified. The other one would just be like the culmination of all these events taking place is like fine.
Moving.
Because you agreed to allow all of these things to take place. Whereas if somebody like breaks into your car, like you didn't agree for them to break into your car.
Okay, cool. Then if you're saying that I'm agreeing for all of these things to take place, then why am I allowed to kill this child when I've agreed for it?
Well, because you didn't consent, you assented, and assent is
You said I agreed for it to be there. So if I agreed for it to be there, why am I not allowed to kill it to remove it?
well, because assent is not a moral commitment. It would prohibit you from like, taking some sort of action to just.
We lost that round. Prepare for the next one. Switching sides. Search and destroy. Set up security around the objective. Enemy UAV active. Enemy planted at Alpha.
Moving here.
Still hot. Move fast. All operatives, bomb defused. Round secure. On to the next.
How does her right to property, like, have anything to
Search
do
and
with
destroy.
Property, she gave it up.
No, she has the right to no, I'm saying
Keep
she
the
has
enemy
the
off
right
the
to
objective.
her property. The child's body is its own property. But the child and its property are located on her property, and she can remove.
Wait, which she acknowledged and agreed to by engaging in the act, that's what you said.
What I said is that she acknowledges that pregnancy is a possible outcome, but she doesn't agree to it.
She did agree to it.
I said she personally, again, I used the word assent, which, just to clarify, is a private acknowledgement and acceptance of some sort of outcome associated with an
You won
action.
that round.
Yeah,
Get
you're
ready
saying,
for the
you're
next
saying
one.
that she's agreeing to getting pregnant, but for some reason she doesn't have an obligation to get pregnant.
There's a possibility she could become pregnant.
Because she loses those rights. At least that's what happens with her property, with the egg.
Well,
Why is
wait a
it
second.
Search and destroy.
Well, that has nothing to do with my argument. We're just
your argument?
141. Plant a charge on the target and level
has
it.
a legitimate claim to, like, the embryo. It has nothing to do with her body as property.
He's so slippery.
It just doesn't, it's not relevant to the view.
Let me just say this. I'm sorry to interrupt, guys. I gotta tell you about my aunt. She used to take us to the beach when I was a little kid, and she'd bring us water snakes. She called them beach. They're like, it's like an inside-out water balloon, and every time you try and grab it, it like flips inside out, and you can't grab a hold of it. That's you, meatball.
You've got the bomb.
Well, it sounds like right now we're just talking about who has a legitimate claim to the egg or to the
Do you feel like she's
Round
round
secure.
that we're
On to
just
the
smacking
next.
back around?
Well, do you agree that right now we're talking about, like, who has a claim?
Search and destroy. Move in and detonate the target.
I just lost my fiancé, my best friend, and my entire friend group in
The risks, the potential outcomes, and she's
Didn't I
agreeing
just pick? Stop changing the
that could happen.
attachment.
She's agreeing to it happening, actually, if it does.
Yeah, she's accepting of the this could happen.
Yeah, and if it does happen, she now loses the right to her property, meaning her egg. Why does she lose the right to her egg and not simply other property?
This is what I said before. I would question that because, like, she loses like the right to her egg insofar as the egg kind of like ceases to exist because it's become something else. But she has agreed to this state of affairs, but that doesn't now mean she's bound to, like, endure anything. You're saying that there's a prescription here. That's a far leap from just saying, I acknowledge that this.
I'm asking you why, because you're telling me she's agreed.
1 minute
And
remaining.
if this thing happens, because she's agreed, she loses the right to claim to her egg. But I'll be more specific here. She loses she loses the claim to her egg.
why does she not also lose the claim to any of her other property that's required to keep this entity alive?
Oh, why would she?
I'm asking you.
If you're positing that just because she agreed for her egg to be lost or changed form or something like that, she would necessarily like lose claim to other organs or something. Yeah, because it's well, the burden isn't on me to tell you why she wouldn't. The burden is on you to tell me why she
position. It's your position. I'm asking you about your position.
Search and destroy.
No, if you're
I'm not making a claim. You're the one that's making the claim that she doesn't lose the right to any of this other property. I'm asking you why.
Well, I don't really understand the question fully here. I don't understand what, if you're asking me, if she assents to one thing being lost, why doesn't she assent to other things being lost?
No.
Moving to my mark.
It's the action and assenting to the potential consequence of that action, meaning this zygote comes into existence. You're saying
only you remain.
Because she partakes in the action, she's assenting to losing the rights. She's not losing the rights to anything else. Why does it only apply to her and nothing else?
Because the
What? That's clearly lag.
She loses the right to that, not anything else.
Because that's the thing in question that would come to be claimed by another entity.
I threw it before you even showed it.
You're just that didn't really say anything. You're just saying
No, I'm saying that like we're talking about the body as property, so those other organs are going to be a part of somebody else's body, whereas the egg is going to change its form and become the new unique organism with a body like to it. These other things.
I understand that part, but in doing this, she would also acknowledge that if this thing comes into existence, it's going to require all of these other things. So why does her engaging in this action not mean she's also agreeing to all of that as well?
Well, she's saying that she's agreeing she actually has direct control over that. So when it comes to like the egg, becoming implanted, once she engages in sex, this may or may not happen. This is a biological process, not in her direct control. But when it comes to sustaining a pregnancy, that is something that she has the right to decide. And you
tell me why she should be allowed to do this. It doesn't tell me why she's not agreeing to give up some of those rights, at least for some period of time.
She's not, because it's saying that you understand that, like, this particular piece of property may cease to exist if you do some action that doesn't entail that there's like a prescription here that we derive that because of that you're necessarily obligated to do X, Y, or Z, or you're going to lose surrounding things. That doesn't make any sense. The only part of her that would be
changing the reason for that, though.
Well, the only part of her that's changing its ontology is her egg. So it doesn't. So it wouldn't make sense. Like she's going to be losing or she's forfeiting other parts. That doesn't make any sense.
I think it does, but you would have to offer an explanation as to why. And all you're saying is because, well, the egg changes, but in the process of the egg changing, obviously now needs all of these other things.
It's the only thing she's lost.
Wait, but I don't know why her acknowledging or participating in this action means she's only agreeing to losing the claim to the egg.
Just because she's
all of these other
just
things.
because wait, hold on. Just because she's agreeing to lose this piece of property doesn't mean that she's like agreeing to maintain the new property. If you don't know
why. Why?
Wait, why would it? Hello? Just because they agree that, like, I don't know, if I have, like, I don't know, some object and I drop it on the ground somewhere, I'm like saying, well, if by releasing it from my grip, I acknowledge that I could lose my property. That doesn't mean that if somebody picks it up, that I'm like necessarily obligated to like give this person what it would need in order to maintain this object that's certain that's a prescription. If you're saying if you're offering a prescription, you need to the argument as to offering it. I'm trying to understand what you're saying. You're saying partaking this action, that means I'm agreeing to this, and if it was agreeing to give this, I'm saying I'm only agreeing to give this particular thing up, even though in the process all of these other things are necessary as well. I'm not agreeing to any of that. I'm only agreeing to this thing, and you're not telling me why the if she's only losing one thing. You're talking about she would be losing multiple things, at least temporarily. of her body for her resources is changing its ontology.
That's not what I said.
Oh, that's what I said. I said when we were talking about a loss.
I know, but I don't know why you said that.
Because that's the only thing that she's losing. So when it comes to
she would be losing, at least temporarily, the use of several things.
No,
she's not losing the use of her uterus. Then why are we moving the fetus?
but she can regain use. So no,
because she can doesn't mean that she should be able to. I'm trying to understand why you think she should.
I'm saying it's not being lost. I'm saying the only thing that's being surrendered here is the egg. So I don't see why she would be obligated.
The use of her body is being lost temporarily, to some extent. And you were saying, so she can, because there's a kid inside of her.
Use of her body. Can she not still use her body?
Not in the same way without a kid.
Oh, so
there's obviously going to be differences. How is a body different when there's a kid inside of it?
In a meaningful sense, you're saying that she's lost the ability to use her body. Most women don't find out they're pregnant for 6 or 7 weeks. So during that time, she doesn't even know that this is happening. Is this a meaningful loss of function?
I'm sorry, is the argument here that this woman's body while she's pregnant versus not pregnant?
No.
I feel like that's understood.
No, the argument is that none of...
Moving.
What you're positing here is not relevant to my argument. When you're asking questions about, her assenting or consenting to the loss of the body part or a piece of her property and why then she isn't obligated to that thing to be linked using other body parts, it's not relevant to the position at all.
It is, and what you're saying now only furthers my point, because now you're saying she's not even losing anything, so why should she be allowed to get this kid out?
It doesn't, because it's on her property and she doesn't want it there.
So what? Again, you're not telling me why her partaking in this action means she's only agreeing to lose the egg and not use of some of these other things temporarily.
I don't know why
limited
that
to just that.
Restriction to say that somebody must use their body to provide.
I didn't make a claim at all. I asked you why does it only apply to A and not A, B, C, and D?
Because A is the only thing that's being surrendered, not B, C, D.
So you said it only applies to A because I say it only applies to A.
No, because the A would be the egg.
So you say it only applies to A because it only applies to A.
No, it only applies to A because that's the only thing that's being surrendered. The other things,
to be clear, it's surrendering A.
Her surrendering
A
after the objective.
B, C, D, E, and F. And if that's what that equals,
my question was, why does her agreeing here means she's only agreeing to surrender A? And you said because she's only surrendering A.
Because A is the only thing that's being lost. What?
The use of her body to some extent is being lost or at least impacted as well.
The thing is, she can regain all of those things. The egg is the thing that she can never
regain. Why should she be allowed to?
She can regain them after birth.
If you're just...
That
just goes back to the fundamental argument for property rights.
But you're saying her agreeing...
Never substantiated why property rights would ever supersede the rights of life.
Don't let the enemy level the objective. Keep them secure.
One is derivative of the other.
I can give you the argument.
The problem, I guess I'll go back to that, but the problem here is you're saying that when she partakes in this action, she's agreeing to this, but the agreement only extends to that and all these other things.
That would just be thinking of prescription. Basically what you're saying
won that round.
That she
Get
would
ready for the next one.
agree to allow her body to be used in a specific way, which is different from acknowledging that its body would just naturally do this thing by changing her age to something else. All of these other things require that she actually do something volitionally. It's completely different from just acknowledging that an egg might change.
Search and destroy.
Actually, as you've pointed out earlier, it in large part doesn't require her to volitionally do anything. It requires her to not volitionally do something. It requires her to go on about her life in the way that she has been, at least throughout the majority of the pregnancy, not to volitionally take an action to kill the kid.
Well, the thing is, I'm just saying that there's a relationship that's between parent and child. She takes no action, presumably, unless something goes wrong, then this relationship will continue. But decisions about how her property is used. So she gets to decide. Yeah, she gets to decide whether to let this relationship continue or if she wants to terminate it.
you're saying that
destroy.
it does because you're saying it means that she's agreeing
Detonate
to
the
lose
target
the rights to
objective,
this
but expect a
property.
friendly
She's
UAV on
agreeing to lose the
station.
rights to the property that she loses forever, but for some reason not to the use of the property that she can only use temporarily.
It's kind of like how if I want to sell, like, you know, one of the property items, I don't necessarily have to sell a whole bunch of other ones. I get to decide, like,
Yeah, I
which
don't know
parts
how
of...
that, like,
Yeah, so like I can decide.
applies to anything here.
Yeah, but basically what I'm saying is, like, I can decide, like, being lost through, you know, pregnancy, which is active.
You've won that round. Get ready for the next one.
Cool with is, like, my body being used.
Wait, can she say that she's not totally cool with that?
With what?
Can she say she's not totally cool with her egg being lost through the act of pregnancy?
Oh, well then she would have to
Switching
abstain
sides.
entirely, given that, like, or unless she, you know.
Cool. So
Search and
why
destroy.
would she have to abstain from sex entirely if she's not totally cool with her egg
Hostiles
being
are
lost
after the
forever?
objective.
Because it's
Send
She
friendly
doesn't have
UAV
to
online.
abstain from sex entirely if she's not totally cool with her body being used.
I was looking.
We lost that round. Prepare for the next one.
Well, I just want to say that until women take accountability for other women, well, I don't care
Search
what.
and destroy. Don't let the enemy level the objectives. Keep them secure.
Because founding fathers in the Declaration of Independence knew exactly
The round
why
is
we
lost.
don't
Focus on the next one.
need a king. To say that was an attempt control. If I'm partaking in this action, it's not in my control.
Search and destroy. Plant a charge on the target and level it.
This entity is now dependent on you to survive. You're saying, because it's not in my control for it to come into existence, I agree that if it comes into existence, I lose
Secured the device.
the claim to my egg. Well, for some reason, even though it's not in my control, that it's going to be dependent on me for survival.
That is in my control.
No, it's not. It is dependent on you for survival. That's not within your control.
Yeah, it is.
You can kill it,
Yeah, exactly.
but it is not within your control.
Is it-
It's going to depend
sorry.
on you for survival.
Is it dependent on me for survival if I kill it?
No, but what does that have to do with what I asked her? What I
It's
said?
the one I have control over and
Enemy
one I don't.
movement
If
is
you're just
moving
saying,
here.
We're planting
if you're
at
saying
Alpha.
I can't control the nature of the fetus, sure, but this
Device
is
in
something
place.
to, like,
Countdown
bearing on
started.
what the prescription should be, what I ought do, you know, once I like realize I'm pregnant or something like that.
All known threats have been eliminated.
When you're just describing,
We've
like,
secured
the
the
state
field.
of
Mission accomplished.
affairs, you're not. This is.
Do you think?
Doesn't make any sense.
Well, no, I think that was like, that didn't address anything, but do you think that if it was possible to, like, split it back out right after the zygote was created, she should be allowed to split it back and take her egg back?
If she wants to take her egg back, ooh, I don't know. I have no idea.
That's the first time I've heard meatballs stumped in.
Well, this is like a really interesting. Well, this is a really interesting hypothetical. You gotta give me a second. So, okay. So,
I appreciate Meatball being very good for the
let's
we have some interesting conversations.
I don't know. There, it sounds like that the nature of pregnancy would be different. So, given that this is something that could be done, like maybe it would be permissible because in this case you actually would not be forfeiting the egg, knowing that this is something you could actually get back. So, like, it would probably be okay.
Well, how far would that extend? Pregnancy. Like, if I could just, like, zap my 2-year-old and split out everything that they're made of, like, take my egg back.
Yeah. Probably once a mind is present, it would no longer be permissible because property owner. So prior to that point, it would probably be okay. But once we have a property owner,
wait a second. There's no property owner. The moment it's a zygote, then why does she lose control of it at that point, or ownership of it then?
Well, it's just that it's its own like unique being with its own ontology.
Wait, so there's property that doesn't have an owner? That did have an owner. That owner now has lost ownership of that property.
It didn't used to have an owner because it's a different thing now. Like so we're going away from your hypothetical, going back to like what actually happens during pregnancy. The egg ceases to be an egg, so now it's like an entirely new thing. So it's not like this thing that was once hers, it like is now somebody's
property.
Well, yeah, but it's
lose
user energy. It just sounds like an
Defend our objective.
It's made up from my property, and it's on my property.
Yeah, no, it's something else entirely. Why would you?
Because it's made up of my property, and it's on my property.
I think something is like on my property and you have ownership of it?
No, I said it's made up of my property.
Well, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have ownership of it. Because there's like an exhaustive list of ways people to acquire something legitimately, and I would say like.
Wait, give me an example of something that's even on my property that I don't have a legitimate claim to.
It's going to be a hard one because pregnancy is unique, but maybe like okay,
search and destroy.
I invite my friend over and we decide to like bake a cake together.
You're our objective.
And we're gonna sell this cake for money or something. And so I provide half of the ingredients. So like maybe I provide the ingredients and you provide the ingredients. And we like bake this cake together. Like I don't know that I necessarily have a legitimate claim to that cake. It's on me. Are you sure? I think we're
enemy movement.
Here. This isn't like completely analogous to pregnancy, but
at most you would have to say that the claim to that cake is between me and the other person who provided the other ingredients.
Sure, it wouldn't negate like the right that you have to remove the cake from your property. Like it might not.
That's not even what I'm talking about right now. I'm just talking about a legitimate claim to this cake.
It's like when you say like have like a dual ownership of the cake. It's not just yours. It's not just theirs.
On to the next.
Okay, so it's not. It's property that is claimed. So, like for example, we have this cake. Like Mr. Man's making this cake, you can't just walk in and be like, I want that cake, I'm taking it.
Switching sides.
Because you have no claim to that cake. The claim is between the two of us. So you could say that like the father and the mother have a like dual ownership.
Charge on your target and level.
Now, how can this other entity homestead property that's already
That's a really good question. Like a first use claim that somebody would have over this property that nobody else would have. So it's not. It's going to be really hard to make this.
One that round. Get ready for the next one.
But that doesn't even really matter because I could just say that it's personhood and just take like an installment view, and I could just say that the relevant property owner is the soul that
search and destroy.
It inhabits the body at the moment of conception. So this is really only a
plant
problem
the charge and detonate the objective
to like a theory of identity, but if just yeah, so if we take it if we take like a theory of identity, like we say that the mind is a person,
round secure. On to the next.
Into existence, but if we take an ensoulment view, then
because the reason I couldn't before was because there's no way for me to get
switching sides.
But the thing is, it's already like at the moment of relinquishment or whatever, it would have already been acquired by somebody else. If you take
defend our objective, soldier.
So they would have a legitimate claim.
legitimate claim to property out here.
But I don't know how to explain it.
I think that you did.
You've won that round. Get ready for the next one.
I engaged in sex knowing that I could lose it, and I decided to do it anyway. And then once I lost it, somebody else came to acquire this, like, certain somebody else's. If we're saying that the mine is the person and the mine hasn't yet been claimed, then it would just be at that point like surrendered unclaimed property.
Search and destroy.
Unclaimed property that I can take my head back.
Now we're back to
Secure our objective.
why I'm chose this and not anything else.
That's just descriptively what you're losing. Is the end. That's it.
Bomb secure. No visible threats on target. Solid work. The mission is complete. Good work.
You're losing it. Just this other person doesn't anything.
Doesn't mean it just means somebody else is opening it for
Like I say,
a period of time.
yeah, you're not losing it forever. You're losing it temporarily.
It just means somebody else is using it. Doesn't mean I've lost it at all. It just means somebody else is using it.
Yeah, well, again, that's why I said you can word it however you want. Losing use of it temporarily, however you want to word it.
Like if I own a house and like, I don't know, I rent it out to somebody, I haven't lost that property. It just means somebody else is inhabiting it.
You've lost the ability to use it for at least some period of time.
No, I haven't. I can still
You
use
can use it when somebody else is in it.
Well, I can use my body when someone else is in it.
Not your uterus, not in the same way that you can when somebody else is
Wait,
in it.
how am I using my uterus and how would
I
that
have
change?
no idea, but again, we're back to the woman's body is obviously. Yeah, we're back to the woman's body is obviously pretty different things. Pregnant versus not pregnant.
No, don't say that because the uterus provides like structural support for other organs and it also is like a part of the endocrine system that deals with hormonal regulation and stuff like that. But like it's like confused a little bit because like these are things that are just existing that I don't like necessarily have control over. All I know is that I have a claim to these things, and given that I have a claim to them, I get to like.
You don't have control over it. Sounds like you're losing the right to it, just like you have.
That like presupposes that it's the kind of thing that I could directly control. I mean, there are ways that I can interfere with like. What do you mean?
It doesn't presuppose that it's things that you can directly control.
You're saying
it's actually the opposite.
Well, you're saying I've lost the ability to control something that presupposes that I once did have the ability to control it.
No, I'm saying you lost the claim to this thing, at least temporarily.
I lost the
because you don't have control over it.
I do. Sure did it.
You don't, though.
Of course I can. I can remove it.
Search and destroy.
Maybe we should just
Secure
get
our
clear on
objective.
property rights.
Do not let your guard down.
Maybe I don't need
You wanted to switch to something else earlier. We can go talk about whatever that was.
I just think that, like, the way that I was defining property rights before, just saying that they're, like, the moral and pragmatic authority a person has over a resource, granting them the right to control its use, decide who may access it, and exclude or remove others from it without needing anyone's permission, so long as exercising that authority doesn't violate rights.
We lost that
So,
round.
like,
Prepare for the next one.
I was thinking about something else for a minute, so, like, full disclosure, I wasn't listening. But I wanted to say to Mr. Man, it was last night I was listening to you on live. It was pretty good. You were talking about
do not let them reach it.
Women being afraid of women. I think you were talking to Court.
You said about 7%.
Yeah. I thought it was so funny when she asked him what's the reason he would have to be afraid of women, and you were like, because they're killing their kids. He like immediately went into the abortion talk. It's so funny.
And then I got restriction. I wanted to stay on. I think that proves it right there. You can't believe anything any woman ever says. If 1/3 of women have murdered their children, and the other 2/3 were just like,
right. I don't know. The stuff that Meatball's trying to push here.
Gosh, it doesn't sound
Switching sides.
It sounds like before you, like, unload in someone, like, you should understand that there's always a possibility that they might do that. So, in a way, you're kind of like well subject to that possibility by engaging in a sex act with a woman, any woman, even if she claims to be pro-life. terrible thing that he's done, so you're saying the onus is on him too?
Yeah, once that happens, he needs to lock her down and make sure that she
You
can't.
secured the device.
Yeah. 30 belts.
Well,
If you got him, that's, hey, sometimes.
I have an argument for like the legitimacy of property rights. I don't know, Andy, if you heard me like give my argument for effective morality for agency. Yeah.
I'll say for
You've won that round.
She's
Get
gonna
ready
need
for
at
the
least
next one.
No. This is policies of provision.
Oh my god.
Quick.
it should be real quick.
Yeah. Agents. Okay. So premise 1: agents have rights to
Search
freedom.
and
Premise
destroy.
2: freedom and
What's the argument for that?
just that.
Use the charges. Blast the target. No mistake.
Copy that. UAV is on station.
Okay, no, I'll give it to you. So, but premise 2: freedom includes control over one's own body. Premise 3: control over one's own body includes right to exclude others. Premise 4: the fetus is
Down
one's
to you.
body. Premise
Finish
5:
the mission.
consent is withdrawn. That use violates bodily freedom. And therefore, it's right to
We lost that
be an
round.
abortion. But I can give you the argument for freedom and well-being.
I think there's like a lot of different things that we could go back and forth on. It's just gonna be limited.
It's a good argument.
Switching sides.
What's the argument that
Search
agents
and destroy.
deserve freedom if those agents are female?
Secure our objectives. Do
Just
not
that
let your
female
guard down.
agents are agents nonetheless. And we could just say P1, agents pursue purposes. P2, pursuing purposes require freedom and well-being. P3, therefore agents must claim freedom and well-being for themselves. P4, if agency justifies that claim, it justifies it for all agents. The conclusion there is that all agents have the right to freedom and well-being. And then if you want motivation for the view, you can just say justification comes from the logical requirements of agency, not preferences or attitudes. That's why it's objective. And then you could just say,
Flanking here.
uphold this view would be contradictory because by acting at all, you claim that others shouldn't interfere with the conditions necessary for your agency. And if the reason for that claim is that you are an agent, then consistency requires granting the same rights to every other agent. And if you deny that, you're basically treating identical cases differently without justification, and that's rational. And contradictions are false.
I feel like there were a lot of presuppositions in there to extend these rights to women.
Are women not agents?
Search
What's
and
the argument for
destroy.
that?
Well, it's just a question. Do you think women are agents?
I don't know.
Set up a
I'll
perimeter
just say
around
an
the
agent
objective.
is an
Do not
entity
let them
who pursues goals, who does actions and pursues goals.
So a dog is an agent.
I don't know that,
Dogs, they pursue goals.
that they really pursue goals. I think dogs probably have some sort of, remedial kind of, instinct that they act on. They pursue goals in a meaningful way.
Paramecia.
It's paramecium.
It's like a single-celled organism. I've seen under a microscope when I've watched it for food and kill and eat. It had goals. I watched it with a goal. It swam after this other little single-celled organism and it got him.
I guess you'd have to define what you mean by goals. Pursue.
Pursue just means like you act in such a way
1 minute remaining.
you would achieve said you would move forward. Goals require the ability to conceptualize, which necessitates a degree of action. So that's why I would say
The round is lost. Focus on the next one.
Patients are morally relevant entities who require, in order for them to sustain themselves, it's necessary that, somebody else make decisions on their behalf in order to prioritize their safety and well-being. They just can't.
Wouldn't that justify it there?
Wouldn't what justify it where?
If
Search
you
and
have
destroy.
justification why agents,
Place the charges on the target and destroy it.
just a simple fact, it's necessary for agents to have rights and to flourish and do all that, like you originally said. And why, if it's necessary for a moral patient to have the existence of these positive insights, claiming, what's your argument for that? It's your argument. Whatever argument you're using to substantiate these agents having rights is the same argument
Get ready for the
patient
next one.
as these needs.
Yeah, just because it's descriptively true that you need these things doesn't mean you're entitled to them. Like, it's true that, in this society, I don't know.
Then your whole premise falls apart because your premise that because they
No,
just
because the argument is about non-interference.
Use the charges,
That a
blast
person
the target.
already has
No
these
mistake.
things. It's wrong to take them away without zero justification.
Is a moral agent required to do what's in the best interest of our patient?
Assuming that they
Blanking you.
like you could say if there's a duty of care or a guardianship role that is legitimate and they've agreed or engineers.
If you are competent, go do it.
Okay.
You don't have to be a shit person.
Competency. What's happening though? Why we're arguing
We lost that round.
because
Prepare
women
for
are
the
not
next one.
being
Like guardianship is a social role, and I don't believe in just like arbitrarily ascribing like the responsibilities and obligations of social roles onto people absent consent or maybe some sort of like compensatory measure or something like that. You would need a reason as to why they should have this obligation in the first place.
Secure our
So the
objective.
kid, the
Do not let
toddler
your
that
guard
wandered
down.
on my boat could just toss him in the ocean, right?
Well, you shouldn't do this if the question is like, what ought you do insofar as it would be virtuous to do? Like, you shouldn't do this, but my position is that you shouldn't do this. Like, it's going to be legally permissible for you to be allowed to, though, right? Hold the parent or guardian culpable. So the person who has an obligation they neglected that obligation would be the guardian.
The kid's there because the parent, they got in a car accident and died, and then the kid got out of the car and wandered onto my boat.
Oh, well then in that case, like, the guardian is deceased.
Mission compromised. We failed.
Yeah, so I'm totally in the ocean.
But you shouldn't do this when you say here's the contrapositive here. If you're saying that you can't throw the child off the boat or whatever, what you're saying is that the child has a right to be there. You're saying the child has a right to be there. You're saying the child is entitled to use of your property. And if you're making the claim that the child is entitled to use of your property, you're saying they have a legitimate.
Just asking for your position.
Yeah, just that there's no legitimate. So there's just no claim. If you're positing that a claim does exist, you would need to give an argument for that.
Okay, so I just ask one more question. So this kid is like a 3-year-old, and they're in my car. Same scenario. They wandered in my car. Yeah. I'm driving through this town. There's a bunch of child essayers. You're saying perfectly cool to just set them outside where they're gonna get snatched up immediately and repeatedly essayed.
Well, the essayers are the ones.
It's obviously wrong to do that. They're not doing anything wrong. Kicking them out of the car and putting them in that situation.
I think you're doing something morally wrong, but pragmatically, it's permissible for you to gently remove them from the car, and then beyond that, if they were to be harmed in any meaningful way, I'd assume we'd
gently remove them from the car.
Yeah, you just pull over to the side of the road and you just
pull over.
Because if you don't pull over, that would just represent a disproportionate use of force, assuming you eat them out the window. But there are certainly gentler ways to remove them from your property.
Wait, disproportionate force?
Yeah. I just mean that the thing you have the right to do is remove them, and by aggressively eating them out the window where they're going to hit the ground at high speed and it's going to inflict a bunch of injury. That's far less gentle than just
Would I have to go out of my way? I have to endure this rights violation longer to be able to slow down and gently lift them out?
I would to demonstrate that it's take you, I don't know.
Yeah,
Mw3
Yeah, there's yeah, we talked about this before. I think when it comes to the pragmatics, we would have to say that if you must endure this for 1 second or 2 seconds. And I don't know it right now, but there probably is a way to justify that kind of thing. Since there needs to be some sort of standard when it comes to like, you know, for to adjudicate these matters, there needs to be some sort of standard that we can apply somewhat equally to adjust.
Round secure. On to the next.
Clear. Just if we're like in a speed, so we have to slow down. That's really amazing.
Search and destroy.
Holy.
Move in and detonate the target.
Like the child that's there. The child that's there are all like moral agents and control their actions. So like that's not something that you control. You control whether or not you
Situation. It's something that you control. I can just keep driving.
Well, you could and you should.
You've won that round. Get ready for the next one.
So
you're affirming the contribution.
yeah, no. So I understand. You're saying the obligation is to slow
Switch
down.
inside.
You can stand this rights violation for some amount of time to pull
Search and destroy.
off gently, so that they can get torn apart.
Set up security around the objective.
Perfectly fine.
Hostile UAV in the area.
Like that language there, it sort of like dismisses the fact that these rapists are all moral agents. You're kind of implying that they're these like zombies that are
round secure. On to the next.
Would it change your position if instead of assayers it was alligators?
It wouldn't change the position. At least legally, because like we wouldn't hold an alligator culpable.
Search and destroy.
Culpable here, right?
People know that
I'd have to pull
Get the enemy off the
over
objective.
and gently set them down so the alligators could apart instead of just tossing them out.
Yeah, because there's still a possibility that like when you place them down out of bed, the alligators may not get them.
I already know 100% certainty that's what's going to happen.
Like, what did the it's really
what if I knew
First thing I had to die on was Epstein Island.
well, listen, no.
alligators, the way that they do it is they
Secure the field. Mission accomplished.
They are.
Like a lot quicker.
You might want to say that if you're saying you have systemic certainty,
100%.
yeah, that's going to be different from how I'd answer if we didn't have that. So then you might say that eating them out the window would actually be gentler, but that's only given like the stipulations that you've posited here. But like, the conditions here are secondary to you, and
That's obviously a bad hill. Like, you're saying it's okay to just evict a person outside your car, serial rapist. Just endure them being inside the house. Like, obviously, just being inside your car. Like, that's the hill. I'm not saying anything about legals. Let's just say we live in a society where there are no laws. So you think it's okay to just like...
The second story of my house. I assume I would have to like take them out, like downstairs out the front door. I can't just eat them out the second story window.
On the
What if I put them outside and they're going to die like some really painful death? Or I could just shoot them? Are you saying that I would be obligated to shoot them instead of putting them outside?
no, because like that would still be a violation of their negative rights if you shoot them.
Wait, but it's not a negative or a violation of the kid's negative right for me to eat them out the...
No, because the only like alternative is that they stay on your property. So you can either remove them or you can let them stay. So if you're positing in the hypothetical that removal can still lead to certain death, then the only way for them to sustain life would be through use of your resources, and you would need to like substantiate why they
That's what I'm saying. Same thing with this guy. He's gonna die a certain death. And it's going to be really painful if I just take him out the front door, as opposed to like instant if I shoot him.
Well, that would still, again, that would be a negative rights infringement to shoot him. To remove him would not be a negative rights infringement.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if I agree with that, but you're saying in that case, you know,
If you're operating, so here's the problem.
Just how much deeper I want to get into this.
Well, because
you're saying essentially, would be obligated to throw him out my second story window so he dies first.
So what I'm saying is that if what you care about is his well-being or like not experiencing this.
I don't. In this scenario, from your perspective, I
stay.
just want to get him off the
Then you just remove him in like the gentlest way. So pew-pewing him isn't removing him in the gentlest way. It's just killing him or something else kills him like more. Well, you shouldn't be able to.
Okay, but you're saying in that scenario, I would be obligated to eat him out the second story window so he dies faster.
If we're saying, because it's still removal, but the removal is probably going to be gentler. So yeah, shooting him is a removal. So that's and again, if you're concerned about you should have said it was like a consideration that's going to be hard point.
Lethal zone!
Like observance, meaningful observance of other people's well-being as agents. Reason, given it,
Confirming next hard point. Stand by.
It doesn't mean that you should be legally involved.
Taking fire! Area updated. Move to the hard point.
Legally compelled to do.
Tossing tactical!
Yeah, Germans they're just subjective there because it's just
Tactical out! Lethal zone! Switching mags! Taking fire! Fading fast here! Tactical! Lethal going out!
Hard point. Stand by.
Assaulting tactical! There we go!
Hard point relocated. Secure the target
Tactical out! Assaulting tactical! Lethal going out!
Something isn't so if we simulate that for some reason the only
Getting lit up!
Confirming next hard point.
Enemy KIA! Lethal going out!
an argument justifying
There we go! Lethal off!
Move to the hard point.
Loading fresh mags!
Position.
Hostile equipment destroyed! Taking fire! Assaulting tactical! Lethal going out! down.
You know, something.
Hostile cluster mine detected. 1 minute remaining.
Got to go out. Now we're lethal going out. Changing mags.
Hostile cluster mine active.
It's out.
Hardpoint relocating. Stand by.
Again.
Enemy is gaining ground. Push it back.
Tactical out.
Secure the target area.
Lethal's up.
When you kill babies, you should be burned at the stake.
Soldier tactical.
It is.
Lethal going out. Here we go.
Rock them.
It's rain dead. Which is weak.
Sniper's down. Tactical out. Soldier tactical.
Confirming next door. Stand by.
Lethal's up. Side.
Six.
Soldier tactical.
Target area updated. Move to the hostile
Here we
cluster
go.
mine detected.
I prefer to be
10
thinking
seconds
gash.
remaining. Fire.
There we go. Lethal going out. Switching mags.
Mission failed. Return to base.
Was eugenics, and she was so anti-natalist. You can find clips of her on the internet now where they would interview her on video, and she'd say, "If it were up to me, nobody would have babies anymore. We just would stop having them."
Video I've ever seen chronicled in the national news. I've never seen anything like it. I'm going to show some disturbing images. This transgender dude, now remember, he's targeting.
Look, just because you're able to